going
You
to
need to
share a
stand
smart
up for a bit.
contract. A smart contract is a song I made 3 years ago. The smartest of the contracts is the one that we make with ourselves, and I'm going to make a mint party today promoting it, and I'm looking to get some funding to go to the Amazon. We have a friend who has a solar panel, and he asked Vanessa and I to go with him to help him do the solar panel installation, but also doing music on the jungle, as well as registering the reality there, so we can move from that into helping the Wotuha community, into share their ancestral wisdom with us. With music, I'm the cyborg Amish seeking balance, connecting roots to the wireless, and this is Smart Contract. Keep away from FOMO and hold the vibe. Brújula de mi corazón, indícame mi caminar, no importa el punto cardinal. Hay tanto que quiero mirar. De este a oeste, ¿qué más da? Concédeme el don de volar. Ay, brújula, brújula de mi corazón. No es cuestión de dirección. Enséñame mi caminar. Ay, brújula, brújula. Y ella respondió. No te tomes nada personal. Nadie a ti te quiere lastimar. Todo el sufrimiento es opcional. El aprendizaje quedará. Honra tus palabras al hablar. Sé coherente con cómo te expresas. La autenticidad es prioridad. Tu valor no se expresa en moneda. No supongas sobre los demás. Una duda te puede acabar. Pon tus ojos a observarte a ti. Mira cómo puedes mejorar. Pa' que hagas siempre voluntad. Trae aquí a tu mejor versión. Si te enfocas en el porvenir, el nuevo sol renovará tu alma. Oh, 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 oh. Si te enfocas en el porvenir, si te enfocas en el porvenir, si te enfocas en el porvenir, el nuevo sol renovará tu alma. Woo! Happy to share the music. Thank you for the space.
Fuck yeah. Thank you, man. And you said the mint is not up yet?
We are going to do a mint party tonight, so I'm going to share again the tweet so you can help me promote it. We are gonna have it in TokenSmart with Kane Mayfield, which has a great show. Public School is the show. You will love it if you love metagame. This is one of the best meta shows I ever saw. So please be there. And I will share more about the song in the space, the translation, and so I don't want to take you more time, Peth. We can go to Town Hall chat now.
Awesome, thank you. And share the link to the Talking Smart then, because yeah, what else is there to link to? And
Oh yeah,
hopefully
let
some
me share
people
the link.
join later as well.
Yeah, TokenSmart is one of the best places on Web3. I get into metagame through TokenSmart.
Right, there we go. Awesome. So yeah, you heard it. Go buy his NFT later. Or not just buy, but mint it. People want those English lyrics. I see at least 5 comments so far asking for a translation. And Croatian lyrics. All right, so let me share my screen now and show you this. Oh my god, this is what was supposed to be a presentation, but you'll see what's the issue very soon. Because basically, what it is just I copied the pitch deck that we had from last year and just removed a bunch of slides and pasted a bunch of text that I was gonna then redo some of the slides with new text and all of that, or maybe make some new slides and whatever. But yeah, I just haven't had time to get to it in the end today because it was far from the only thing that I was supposed to do before this launch. I see my screen seems to be working. The screen share seems to be working fine. So I will just go ahead. So metagame, a massive online coordination game. So what the fuck is a massive online coordination game? Which I was also explaining as this sort of a real FM RPG, but I'm trying to move away from those sort of explanation to something that sounds easier to understand to anybody. Then we get into this the new landing page, which I think puts it all together more succinctly than the last one, which we had to kind of read the whole thing to get what we're talking about. So this puts it literally like what you're supposed to do here or what you're supposed to get out of metagame. So like you come here, you learn, you connect with people, and you build shit. And then metagame is this decentralized factory for builders of the future, a network of DAOs, of service DAOs, of project DAOs, of resources for building DAOs, and all of that. So on the landing page, you can now select these different boxes, which are used for you to indicate what you are most interested in. Which, yeah, thank you to Elko for implementing this, and this was his idea in the first place. It will help us gather this data right away when people are joining metagame, to help us understand what people are most interested in and to like tailor the content based on people's interests, so we can have these automated email campaigns and for people to get only the shit that they're interested in rather than what we've been doing so far, which is just blasting newsletters to like blasting the same newsletters to all the 10,000 subscribers. But yeah, the basic things that people are supposed to get is the understanding of Web3 and DAOs and why this shit matters, to learn about the bigger picture, like the game B stuff and the meta crisis, to earn their first DAO tokens and DAO shares, and then on the other side, on like the guild side, help people get their DAO idea off the ground, help them find contributors and users, and help them spread the word about their project. So through our newsletter, through our podcast, and whatever other channels. But yeah, so getting into the actual problem statement. So the newcomers that struggle with starting to contribute to the space, and there's really no good onboarding space that teaches people about the Web3 ethos, and that teaches them like about why these technologies matter, and like most things either like talk about the technical side, like how mining works, or like staking these days, or they talk about the tokens that moon and shitcoins. But yeah, there aren't many or many if any places that really talk about the cultural side of things and the impactful side of things. And then on the other side, we have DAOs who in general struggle finding and onboarding new contributors, and good projects that have a hard time breaking through the noise of scams, and other projects that promise these quick reaches. So what is the solution? So you can see, for example, this text that I read here. So it's about finding this third path between freelancing and having a job. So really, that's what I think DAOing is about. Because yeah, it's not freelancing because you're working, you're a part of the community and you have teammates and all of that. But it's also not quite a job because you get to choose your own time, like how you want to work, choose your own terms. And hopefully we can make it so that this third path has best of both worlds, although right now it also has the bad parts of both worlds. So although you may be freelancing, you're also probably not getting paid very much by working in the DAO space. I think that's one of the biggest issues. But yeah, so what we're doing in general is curating an ecosystem and building this gamified connective tissue that turns DJs and freelancers into Daoist and regions. And yeah, we have this ecosystem and project-specific onboarding flows. We have a knowledge sharing protocol, and the whole goal is to help, yeah, as I mentioned before, connect contributors to projects, connecting projects to users, and then having this platform bringing all of these different pieces together. And this is just like an illustration of what joining the space is currently like, where you have this minefield and there's no clear path forward. Whereas what we want to do with MetaGame is create this clear flow, so of like, yeah, really making it as easy as possible for people to go from zero to joining a project and earning their first DAO shares, and avoid all the scams and snake oil. Then all the different things that MetaGame does. So starting with town halls, which is one of these, which is every Friday, where we have usually two guests talk about their DAOs and or like DAO related projects. We have bigger events like MetaFest, which was the first one IRL this year, MetaFest Croatia. And then we also organize the DAOsember. And then we also have the newsletter, the podcast, the academy, which is built on that knowledge sharing protocol that I talked about before. Thanks to Feed and then we have the dashboard, the My Meta profiles, the quests, the onboarding game. So there are all of these different pieces which sort of fit together to make up MetaGame. MetaGame adoption flywheel, this is less important, but the general idea is to like we produce content and organize events and like build products, which then raises awareness of MetaGame, makes connections happen because people meet each other, and it raises the adoption. And then this makes the community grow, makes the resources grow, and the possibilities expand, which then goes again like into the more content, more events, more technologies. And this is sort of the flywheel that we are working on, so that each step builds on the next step and it goes in a upwards feedback loop. Why and why now? So again, you can see this new line that I added here, which is that in MetaGame we believe that Web3 is here to help us build decentralized and less corruptible socioeconomic systems and institutions, and that's what we're doing by starting by building this connective tissue for the DAO space, and then MetaGame being this massive online coordination game. And this is just the old text, which kind of states the same thing, I guess, that Web3 is here to allow us to build new kinds of financial systems, new kinds of organizations, new kinds of applications, and really rewrite the humanity's socioeconomic fabric from the ground up. And then why now, like the kind of what I mentioned, the launch newsletter, that the ideas like network state aren't so far-fetched anymore. Like when MetaGame was started, these were still all crazy ideas, and there were like 5 active DAOs in total. And these days it's all like, it's all a lot more popular and more well-known. and then how MetaGame draws inspiration from game B space and metamodernism, and how this decentralized factory that I talked about, this network of DAOs and DAO resources, is just the starting phase before moving on into this web of opportunity and eventually into a web of life where Web3 sort of moves into the background, being just like the infrastructure that we use to build things, but MetaGame not being about Web3, but more so like using the Web3 technologies to do real shit. This actually what I was just talking about. Web3 moves into the background, a default way of doing things, and then MetaGame itself is a decentralized society that's helping people find their own metagame by becoming the best versions of themselves, leveling up in whatever they want to level up in, making an impact, connecting people with the physical locations like eco villages, and building this societal operating system. Tokenomics, which are not finalized, but we have seeds right now. As a lot of you know, seeds will be replaced by trees, and this complicates things a bit, but we won't get into that. And the trees will be NFTs, that will be water to produce other tokens, blah blah blah. Let's let's not. And then the final two slides, which is about metagame going forward. So there's a bunch of potential directions for what we're doing next. So what we're actually going to be doing next for the next few weeks and months is a lot more shilling, because we haven't been doing that at all over the past year. We'll be doing a lot of player interviews to see what people are most interested in terms of metagame, like what kind of features they want, what they want us to improve about the platform and all of that. Then we'll be onboarding a lot more DAOs and interviewing them as well. We'll be tracking the analytics, doing the survey, and really gathering as much data as possible about what brings people to metagame and what they want to get out of metagame. And we'll have these, you might have seen the beginning of the month quest for people to complete as many quests and playbooks as possible to qualify for the player of the month and to win the rewards. So the main possibilities, which most likely both of them will happen, just like we will so there's a bit of background to this, because we've been working on metagame for a few years, and although it looks great on the website level now, the code base is a bit more messy than it seems. And then these different narratives which are related to different products. So like the main narrative for metagame itself is being this connective tissue for the DAO space. And there's like one of the features that we would then need to work on is like a matchmaking system, because right now, like, you have all the quests that are like there will be more and more quests, there will be more and more guilds, but there will need to be some kind of a matchmaking system. Then My Meta, which is spinning out into a project of its own, or not completely of its own, but like also a standalone project, and it's becoming this sort of a link tree, a Web3 link tree. I will share the mockup for that as well. And then if you want to lean into the academy, then it's like Duolingo of DAOs, or what Tenfini was talking about, the PBS for DAOs. If you want to focus on the content side, the meta media, then we have like the DAO network state, network village, if you want to go down that road. Then different ways that we could start from scratch, like starting based on just the profile, starting from the dashboard, starting based on Farcaster, which is kind of following the similar thread that MetaOS was built on, like with the frames, because I won't go into detail, but for those who have been here a while know that the whole idea with MetaOS were these custom blocks that anybody can build and deploy on their own dashboard or their own profiles. So that's what that is. And then so like these potential features or modules for us to build, like the seeds upgrades, so giving seeds a use case by having the ability to upvote quests and playbooks using the token, having the quests actually pay out seeds directly. Right now it's very much manual. Then the dashboard update. So I'm gonna have to show you a mock-up for that to make more sense. So the matchmaking, the chatbot, our bot, my meta update, media page, events page, meta will MVP. There's the list goes on. It's just it's not even all of it here. And then on the content side, so like shilling the academy, putting out bounties for more playbooks, for writing more playbooks and hunting for more playbooks, then analyzing the playbook performance, and then choosing the playbooks that are most viewed or like most completed, and then start making videos for them, then sharing those videos on other platforms, putting out doing the same for the podcasts, and putting out bounties for people to find the worthy quotes, then also to like cut those quotes out into short clips and start posting those as well on other platforms. Overall, like solidify MetaGame's position as the place to learn and join DAOs or build DAOs as well. We'll be getting deep into the Farcaster ecosystem because it seems like that's the way to go. Go hard with DAO Spring. So for those who don't know, like what came out of the DAO Sember is going to be DAO Spring next. So like the first DAO incubation cohort. So we are currently producing the DAO playbook based on the DAO Sember content, and then in spring we will be running the first cohort where we'll be helping people start DAOs or like helping the DAOs that were started basically accelerate them in their development. Okay, so yeah, like some like yeah, how we have this reputation in the DAO ecosystem because we've been here for a while. How we're kind of late on the Web3 Quest side because we are, but we are still early on the DAO side because DAOs are still not. There's not so many. There's many like 100 times more DAOs, but like realistically, it's still very early. And there aren't any platforms like MetaGame out there. There are DAO aggregators, and they have like fancy statistics. But we are the only DAO curation platform that's really focused on education and onboarding people into DAOs and helping people start DAOs, which is I think a lot more important than just having DAOs aggregated with nice statistics about their treasuries. Then why like hunting playbooks is important because it's much easier and cheaper to produce playbooks like that. And people think like, oh, but it's better if we write all the playbooks ourselves. But I think that's actually not true because there are a lot of playbooks out there. And then this is one example. So there was this playbook about journaling that this guy wrote on Twitter, and I just DM'd him and he said, hey, can we turn your playbook on journaling into like a short, like a micro course? And he was like, okay, sure, do it. And yeah, you don't know who this guy Dicky Bush is, but he actually has 400,000 followers on Twitter, and yeah, has this a nice bio about the project he's working on, which is like a writing bootcamp. He was a trader at BlackRock, and yeah, he talks a lot on Twitter, which is why he has 400,000 followers. But yeah, we can find more people like that who write playbooks on Twitter. Get them, like ask them if we can use their playbook in the academy, and then have them promote it. So that can also be like a very easy to make viral loop for metagame because yeah, we already have some. We're a decently established project, so it's not like somebody with 0 followers is DMing people and asking them to repost their playbook, but yeah, they are actually likely to respond yes. Then like leaning into this B2B side of things, so like focusing on DAOs and onboarding as many DAOs as possible. And yeah, with this idea of like, we're going to help you find and onboard contributors, and we're going to help you promote your project and find users. In general, a lot more videos, a lot more distribution and incentivization of content creation with high reach, and then that gets new people to join the ecosystem. And then this is about hiding lightworks. That's also less relevant. So I just went through a lot of shit here. Also want to show you this thing really quick. So there we go.
Hey, Pete, on those objectives, can I make a comment about what I would be
Yeah,
most
yeah,
excited about before you get to these
yeah,
slides? Okay,
yeah. Please do.
I think with the opportunity within Farcaster, it's like I would say try to set a budget and really lean into that as quick as possible because there's this early advantage that somebody's going to take in there, and nobody's really taking it in our space yet. So anything we can do, even if it's like mint the token directly from that little application in Farcaster or
Mm,
Warpcast or whatever it is, let's do that as quick as possible. And the other one is to bootstrap the production sort of studio PBS. We're going to help DAOs, connective tissue. Set a budget for that too within, I guess I would say, the next 60 days, and reach out and get some pre-existing code or applications or something that we can either, is it, if it's GPL, we can just immediately kind of put our spin on it, put our logo on it because it's open source and we could kind of just use it as a demo. Then with that, we can go to all the other DAOs or developers or all these people that want to be in this space and say, we have this little package that you can take advantage of. And we do it on our Friday meetings, or we can do it whenever we want to, obviously. And we produce a little segment on their behalf. Because if they're developing something, they probably don't have a marketing arm at all. If Vinay doesn't have a marketing arm, nobody else really does. So we really should be that marketing arm to help people at least take that first step, and we'll make it really, really low cost, beneficial for them. And we just put them in that loop on our Fridays, or if we want to like do it twice a week or something. But let's become a studio and let's focus on the tech that we like and let's do it on their behalf and let's market it on Farcaster. Those four things alone, I think, could get us ahead of
mm.
almost like every wave we need to be on.
Definitely. I think you bring also a great point, yeah, with the community calls, which is, I think we could have a really nice workflow here where we invite somebody to the community call and then the community call gets recorded. And then we can turn the transcription into like a little post about them, which we could then shill on Farcaster. We could post in the newsletter. Or if they're like doing something specific, like we could turn this transcript into a playbook and put them up on the academy, so we can like have them on the call and just repurpose that content for shilling them and helping them reach more people, and this creates these loops. And there's also like if we're helping them and we're like promoting their project, they're kind of obliged to retweet this as well, so we're kind of helping them and they are hopefully paying us and at the same time helping us grow our audience as well because we get some of their followers as well.
And I think that
So I think
that's
that's
the
what's
part that I
there.
think I really hope you focus on, which is please try to set a budget within the DAO to do that. So there's a few people that are literally taking it serious like it's their job. Like you, I know that you know what needs to be done because you're the one that reaches out and you're the one that does the scheduling. But imagine somebody's skill and drive like you have to literally make these Farcaster and the promotion and the studio work. That is where I think that try to get focused on that. Don't expect people to do it out of the goodness of their heart. Literally
Mm,
make it part of like it's going to be $10,000 or $4,000 or whatever it is. We got to set those bounties and have people that we trust that will do the work. Bring them into it, pay them out, and then that thing might like flywheel like out of the park if we know that we're professionals and doing it the right way. So that's the other side of it.
definitely. But okay, so before we get into more discussion, I want to just show these mockups. So this is the My Meta profiles, as you all know it. Like this is what they look like currently. Then these were just like some mockups for like the nicer version. So like first they started making like a standalone version of My Meta. So as I mentioned before, like because part of the reason because our current code base is a mess, but also because it makes sense to turn these things into products of their own. So this was like the first the initial upgrade mockup. Then after that I made, what is it, this one, where people have these different tabs based on what they want to showcase about themselves. And then what we landed on in the end is sort of like more classical like this, where you start with just like a basic, with just the links, and then you have these different tabs for different things. So like you have your podcast in there, you have this hire page. So that could be like a pretty good a value add for people. For example, like if we have
Yeah,
this CV
let
that
me talk about this
automatically
for a
generates
second.
based on like on-chain affiliations or on-chain activity. And yeah, go on, tell us like what other ways you see these profiles being valuable for people.
Yeah, so I think MetaGame at least has been shaping up to be a place where people can connect and find each other and find DAOs and learn. And we have all of this data around users, like what DAOs are they in, what NFTs they have, what are their links, are they affiliated with anyone? All this info, what's their address? All this information really fits well with the link in bio type of setting. With I'm sure some of you are familiar with Linktree. Linktree recently made an acquisition of a startup link in bio application that just has the links and allows you to pay people or to subscribe to people. So we kind of have all of this already built up. And I don't see any Web3 native Linktree type applications that let you take payments, that let you hire people. And given that all this info is already there and that we want to try to grow this and try to experiment and see what works, the hope is that by ETH Denver, we'll have like a basic version of this where as long as you have a profile in MetaGame, it'll just automatically work. You put in the email, you put in the user address, and it'll fetch all the data and display it, and you can put it on your Twitter or whatever. Over the next few months, we're going to keep trying to grow this if we see that people are interested in it. If there's a demand, if people pick it up. If this is something that interests you, do reach out to me because we're trying to figure out, who's going to work on it. We already have like a few people on it, like very, very past, very part time. So yeah, that's the hopes for it. Let me know if you have any questions, if this all makes sense.
Yeah, I was wondering if anybody had experience with like traditional ARGs and like the tie-in that something like metagame or the concept of metagame could have with, you're talking about code, talking about what it's essentially like get coin passport. And I like the idea of like combining those things, getting people interested in code. The internet right now, Web 2.0, has so many good content creation tools that there are so many good content creators. And so like the next level of that is like, I went in the 90s, I used to play ARGs. And getting that next level of content creator, or that next group of developers interested in a project, I think like that's the next level of like getting a real game or a real environment. The way that you describe metagame, and I interpret it as like soft ARG, and ARGs have their own problems. But that level of combining those two different aspects of code and environmental experience, and then also bringing in content creation and code management, and you mentioned funding and like funding code and getting developers that pull in the community that they deserve. And I was wondering like tooling, things like that, and like if there's any just historicity of like historicity of the ARG community and Web 2.0 or even Web 1.0.
We have a lot of members in metagame that have messed around with like I don't know if they're VR, like VR worlds or like virtual worlds. And I really do think that in time, this is a really good direction for us. I think we kind of have all of the pieces necessary to make that happen. But it's really an issue of like manpower, funding, and management, I think. Metagame up until now has been really, a community-driven project, and coordinating between different people, different time zones, and it gets really difficult, I think. But I do love the direction you're talking about. I think it's something that we should also keep in mind. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
So
and
before
if
we go,
there's if I could get or if there's direction, like easier direction towards links to like Wiki pages or like central, like a resource, like Ethereum.org has like all of the documentation that you need. And I could have just been not looking for it, but like, getting it documented and stuff so that developers can have an easy place to start. I think that's like really important, and I'm willing to volunteer the time I do have, but I do work a couple of full-time jobs. So, but I am willing to volunteer for that. Thank you.
awesome, thank you. I'm gonna show. So that's what I want to talk about next. But yeah, I'm gonna open the floor completely after I finish this. I just want to show two more things. So yeah, so far I've been through the slideshow. I've shown these profiles, so like these standalone profiles as a product of their own. The next one is the academy. So like the quest change is actually the first DAO that spun out of MetaGame. So it's this education protocol sort of thing that I was talking about. And then inside MetaGame we have the academy. So not with a D, but like actual THE academy. And then the academy, the idea of like merging those two. So like the academy inside metagame is like the content side, and then quest chains is the technology side, and the academy is the idea of like merging those two into a project of their own. And then this talks about like why that is a good idea and how it would work and why I think it's even necessary. And so that's like the Duolingo of Web3 sort of narrative. The peer-to-peer certification, accountability tools, peer-to-peer also. So that's the second big project that we could focus on. So the profiles, the academy, obviously the first one was the content, and then so where is this? So there we go. So this is a bit of a mess. Oh yeah, this is a cool thing that would be necessary, I guess, also in the academy. This sort of like a skill tree where you can track your own progression and what kind of skills have you acquired or what you want to acquire in the future. But that's even more up in the air than the other stuff. So the other thing is like focusing on this dashboard right now. I don't know, like most of you have probably seen our dashboard, and it looks nothing like this one. And this one sort of prioritizes the actual activity feed, whereas like the current one, we have these three columns and they're all equally sized, and they're like, it just feels dead. And in like if we were building the dashboard from scratch, we would make it so that the dashboard actually surfaces stuff that is happening on the platform. So like when somebody publishes a quest, when somebody moves up the leaderboard, when somebody completes a playbook, whatever, like this should all be on the feed itself. And then the other idea was like having it so that like you have the metagame feed, but you can toggle between these different feeds, which can either be like a Farcaster feed, or it can be like an RSS feed of the newsletters you subscribe to, or yeah, it can be a bunch of different things. But so yeah, I think those are the main products. Like or no, the final one is the DAO Bazaar. So like a place where DAOs can post different tools and services that they offer, which yeah, we already have a shit ton in the network, because there's like there's a lot of people who have profiles in metagame, and there's 30 or 40 DAOs that each have a bunch of tools and services that they offer. So this would just be like creating a UI for them. And these are like, I guess, yeah, this would be if we're focusing on the content side. Like we would also need this the meta media page, which can also be like which should have its own website as well, like can be kind of a spun out project of its own. And the events page would be like surfacing events that are happening in the network. So like community calls from all the DAOs that are involved, or like MetaFest, DAOsember, and everything that we have in the network should be somehow displayed on the platform. And then the very final thing, so this thing which, yeah, this was actually one of the first ideas for metagame, although these days, like it's I think it's cool, but it's also like least useful of all the ideas. Like it would create this nice UI for metagame, but it doesn't really create utility. So let me share it real quick. This thing. So like the actual 3D space of metagame, like the metaville, where you see like each of the pages inside metagame has its own building, and then people can just sort of move around and click and open different things. So that's like just the MVP. And if you wanted to lean into it, then there should be like an ability for people to actually walk through this map and sort of like talk to each other, and then we can run virtual meetings here and like have people. I really love these spatial audio apps where people like where you could talk to people based on how far away from you they are. Like it's the only way to really have to like sort of emulate real life dynamics from conferences and meetups, because otherwise you just have one stage like in Discord, and you can only have one conversation simultaneously, and it feels like this. You can't just have like a conversation with a group of 200 people or like even like 30-50 people. So like having this spatial audio sort of environment where people can split off into different groups and all of that. So I think that would be super cool. But yeah, there's TLDR, there's focusing on the content side, there's focusing on the profiles as a standalone product, there's the academy, there's the events, there's just too much shit, like too many ideas that we've been toying around with over the years. And like now it's now we launch this, and now we need to gather data and talk to a lot of people and do a lot of user interviews, track our analytics, and decide like which of these products we should actually focus on, because we just don't have as Zero said, like we don't have the manpower to do all of these projects. So like the only way to really do any of them properly and to do them really well is to pick one and go with it, or like two at most. And that's really all I had to say. I see by now Tenfin is gone, Zero is gone, and almost everybody is gone. So I guess I talked a bit too much, but I'm gonna start inviting people to the stage if anybody else wants to chime in or whatever you want to say. So I'm just inviting literally everybody who's in this chat to hop on stage if they want to share something or ask something or whatever.
Yeah, so is this gonna be ready for Eat Denver? Is that what we're saying? This right here, and that's on spatial, or is that ready right now?
This the 3D space thing.
Yeah.
This is the prototype. It should be ready for it Denver. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's on a launchpad format that Jen was working on from the last call that we were talking about. But as Bogey and a few others were saying, they were like, Hyperfire, we'll donate a world. Because that's the one thing that I'm considered about. It's like, what's the bandwidth of these, But
yeah, just too much. I don't like fully 3D space yet, to be honest. I like it when I can see things top down and move, like have a nice overview of these different conversation circles.
Like
And like most people
omnipotent.
don't have a VR headset yet.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I think that's slowly about to change. I really want to buy a Quest 3. I think that's the new iPhone. But
Atlantis
I don't
World,
know.
yeah, that was.
I'm an early adopter.
I love that. But Atlantis World is also like no longer in development. Like I was talking to them before they paused. I just wanted to integrate them directly into the dashboard, and honestly, that would have been a great solution, because then we wouldn't have to build our own thing. And it's like what I also like about these sort of top-down lo-fi spaces, that they load really quick for everybody, whereas like these really fully 3D spaces take a bit longer for people to load in the browser.
Yeah, that is true. Optimization. For the, like, when it comes to 3D, you have to like optimization for browser deliverables. So like crucial.
Mm.
Yeah.
You can make 2D websites with 3D, like 3D tooling.
Oh
You can
yeah,
do
yeah.
some
I've got my
pretty,
my website's like that. Yeah, man. I've got a little avatar on my website.
yeah, yeah. 3D is not for everyone, but I like 3D. Not for like for a website, but like for a gaming environment or for something that you can interact with other people, like VR chat type
Absolutely.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
there's a
RuneScape's the
paradigm shift there.
example, you know what I mean? RuneScape's
Absolutely.
the original. That's where everyone
Yeah,
met in RuneScape.
that was the first metaverse, or one
Yeah, I
of the
was having a
Yeah.
first.
talk with the Mofo Goats DAO last night, and they were asking me, about sort of the difference in between spatial and whereas we have Nifty now. Nifty is not necessarily the same as spatial and everything else, but in spatial, the head drifts off when you're talking to people, so there's no real connection. As like with VR chat and other things, you have that sort of authentic connection. But where Pete was saying, more like a top-down player, where because I think of that too. I love 3D. I love the connection, but also the lack of connection if someone doesn't have a good connection or a good PC, right?
Yeah. Decentralized or like token based gather.town would be cool. There's a website called gather.town and
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, isn't that
yeah.
what
That's pretty
That's
much
what we use for
exactly
the
what
Avalanche.
Atlantis World was.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Like it was
Gather
Gather Town, but crypto.
Yeah. And something that's more, something tied into. See, that's the thing, like with the concept like metagame, you could probably bring in multiple things. If you go the route of like ARG sort of, where you're like, well, it's the same thing, but it's not. And then you track the code and we put the code together and we make it clear it's part of the same project, but they're like different components of the same project, and then build trust with the community. There's real possibility to like bring in tooling and then spread DAO, or I don't know how to describe it, that community legitimacy across these different tools, and then help them survive the long term. So like right now, a lot of crypto stuff or a lot of D apps just sort of just go away. They just sort of die. And the value that you build in the community, or the value you build, things like Gitcoin Passport, like help with that to a degree. But then it's just like, well, then you have to know what it's about. So then, like, having a term that people know, like Web 2.0 did really, really good at that until it was like an issue. We all have issues with like Facebook and like Instagram and the way that the rules were handled. Like everybody pretty much has issues with it. Like, boomers, kids, everyone has issues with like the centralization and the rule rule sets that people that had no profit motive or no real world motive, they just wanted to hurt or whatever. I think Web 2.0 has huge issues with that. And I think Web 3 has the potential to overcome that, but then there has to be still that legitimacy that like the word Facebook gives, right? And so then it's like, well, then the smart contracts have to have legitimacy. And then when I say legitimacy, I mean just that the history of what people have done matters. It's a whole point of a ledger system. The whole point of decentralization is that the history and the identity of trust. Like, think, even I'm saying identity, but anonymity is not. There's two different concepts. You can be anonymous and have an identity, like Banksy. And so it's like, well, if you have that identity and you have that trust across different projects, that's really, really important. And I think that bringing more features isn't necessarily the idea, but absorbing more products into a single shelter, because like Ethereum kind of does that. Any blockchain does that to a degree. And then so that integration level, or that interface level, then we get into like, well, what's the success of the group that build it? What's the longevity? And then that's where investment comes in. That's where time comes in, and then that's where a community is built. And that's what Web 2.0 did like brilliantly with the branding. So yeah.
I've got a question for everyone. Do you think when are you gonna get like a head-mounted display, or will you be getting one? Like, do you think you could see yourself in, I don't know, 1 to 2 years using your smartphone, but it's not a smartphone. It's like, you know, like Quest 3 or Vision Pro or whatever.
It's just a monocle.
Monocle. Like, do you
Is
see
that what
yourself
do you?
immersing
I think it
yourself
has
like
to be
that?
3D. Honestly, I think they like look, the 3DS had 3D, right?
Yeah.
And I'm aware that like VR headsets are sort of 3D, but like it would have to be like a main
I'm not
part of the
necessarily
marketing
talking
for it.
about. I'm not necessarily talking about 3D. I'm more talking about immersive experiences.
For him,
Yeah,
he's
Hey, what do
saying
you
I'm
think
talking about
about
he's
more so
like?
mixed reality than virtual reality.
What do you think about like how they're marketing the Vision Pro? Like, basically, you just have it strapped to your face at all times,
I mean,
and
if they
it
I
got
mean,
dark mode, I'm
enhances.
cool.
I mean, I don't see it, like I don't see the difference to people being glued to their phones right now. You know, there's no difference.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, with the Vision Pro, like you can, you know, it overlays something on top of your current reality, so it's
Absolutely. That's what I'm getting
maybe
into, that
even better than
immersiveness,
a
you know?
phone.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. That's what I'm getting. That's the kind of like
Does it
way I'm
like
trying to,
you have
yeah.
the full view from cameras, right? Like at first I thought it's like AR where you like just get an overlay, but isn't it actually that it's like completely covers your eyes and you just see
Yeah.
the screen that
Yeah,
is
it
feed
completely
from the
covers your
cameras?
eye.
Yeah.
It has less POV than or FOV than the MetaQuest 3 though.
Mm.
yeah.
Like, just remember the Quest 3. I don't know. I'm sounding like a big meta shill right now, but the Quest 3 is $700 cheaper than the Vision Pro, and you can game on it. I mean, that's not like,
That's
you know,
nice, yeah.
that's, and it does basically everything else. Like, it's just the quality of the pixels is a bit less.
But if you have an
But I
Apple
don't know.
phone and you
I'm
want that
buying one soon.
experience, then definitely and you have the money, then
Like how the iPhone is popular right now, or has been for the last decade or so, I think the Quest 3 and any future variants will probably be replacing that. And that's why I think Apple brought out the Vision Pro, you know, to try and compete, because they kind of, you know, I don't know. We're going to be moving away from our candy bar phones, and we'll
Well,
just be like standing up and, you know, computing immersively.
there's a place in the market for that because Google Glass failed. Like,
Yes.
so I almost bought the first Google Glass, but I was working like I was not getting paid enough to afford it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was super expensive. I think it was like $1,800 when it came out, and
Mhm.
they accepted me into like the list of people to buy it. But I was like, well,
So lucky.
that's a car at the time when it came out. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
that's like a cheap car. Okay. And so I didn't buy it, but the concept of Google Glass and the concept of like in your environment getting cues like tutorial stuff and doing stuff like that to me is like really appealing because it's like, would you leave this so you have an AI that can tell you, you know? That's
for sure.
amazing to me. That's what AI, like that's really what we
Mhm.
needed it for, is like extending that short-term memory. And as soon as it starts extending our short-term memory, we're there. And so like the vision, I haven't read much about it or watched any videos about it, but if it is about AR and alternate reality or I'm sorry, augmented reality, it's about augmented reality. And if it's about truly like improving your environment, and then think about like ChatGPT and things like that, like image DALI and image recognition, etc. Like there's so much potential for that.
So much
And
crazy.
even with
Yeah.
games, like, you know, talking to your waifu is kind of like, I don't mean that a little bit like, you know what I mean? Like you have a little
Yeah.
club, people play Fire Emblem and stuff like that. Like you talk to the characters, interact with them, like in VR chat, and it can be AI, which is really cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a headset, a Quest 2, right? And just with the pass through the other day, normally I don't watch videos laying down or on my headset, right? I didn't use it much. But I was laying down the other day and it had pass through with virtual desktop, and I was just watching and I could see people come in. So that overlay is definitely. You might catch me at Eat Denver, sleeping with my headset on, and then I'll
Man, I
just be
wish I could
twitching every
go.
now and then. You'll just be seeing me acting like I'm playing. But when it comes to market share and sustainability, Bogey, what I've seen with Apple, right, especially in 3D technology, with Luma, with Polycam, with is the reason why they went with iPhone as their main, infrared or other scanners is because Apple's always guaranteed at least 5-10 years lifespan support.
Yeah. Plus they
And
bought all the
whereas with
patents
Meta,
also.
Meta's just put so much money into metaverse, into Meta, that there's no way that they're gonna try or that they're gonna fail at what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
because it's the
Absolutely.
longevity of money invested.
Exactly. I mean, I I mean, thinking about it though, like what Meta did and what Apple are currently doing. Like, if you think about it, like this, right? Apple's technically just released their own version of the Quest Pro
Yeah.
when that came out. It was a ridiculous price as well, the Quest Pro. I think maybe we could probably see a cheaper alternative in the future that actually does game, because the iPhone 15, they're trying to label that as like, oh yeah, it's a gaming device, you know. It's got this new chip. You can do all this stuff, blah 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 blah. So we might see a cheap, like, you know, and by that point we might actually have, like, you know, you know, large scale, like Ready Player One world. You know, like I think that's yeah, before 2030, I think that's going to be a reality. You know, like kind of cool.
Yeah, Tommy, the HoloLens team is amazing. I actually hope I get to see them at ETH Denver. I hope they're there.
Wait, HoloLens might be at ETH
Well,
Denver.
no,
What?
no. Tommy was saying HoloLens revival.
Oh,
Microsoft been keeping things a little quiet for 10 years. Yeah,
that is
Microsoft does that
true.
as well. When they did their
Mm,
Surface, like their big Surfaces,
yeah.
that thing was under wraps hardcore.
I mean, to be fair, Microsoft, from like Microsoft, they might be just invested in both of them. To be fair, like.
Well, they're more invested in the industrial side. Like with
Mm.
HoloLens, they already have big industrial contracts.
No, what I meant more so, like, you know how they have like a large chunk of OpenAI, for example. They might
Mm.
have a chunk of Apple and Meta, and
Right,
they're
oh,
just
for sure.
letting them do all the hard work, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's like what Sony did with
Yeah, yeah,
Discord,
yeah.
right? They
Exactly.
bought Discord and then they gave it to to Xbox, to Microsoft to mess with it and to license it, and then too funny.
I think Bing is planning a OpenAI integration. Like, imagine
Oh,
like
Copilot?
Google.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, but like, so Bing might actually like become better than Google in the future. And Google, like the way it handles data, like Google is okay, but in some ways, but like Google has issues, and like searching things on Google and things like that. It's sort of like I feel like I'm really trading privacy. And so
Oh,
like
2000%.
with AI, you can sort of protect that privacy to a degree. Like it becomes like a total, like you have to be like real, you know what I mean? Like that's the thing with AI, is like a lot of people use AI as like a term, like it's just that I don't understand it. And so that makes it so it's like difficult for people to like purchase access to you and things like that. So it's like with OpenAI, and being partnering together, and you know, if there's a security focus with it, then because I already use like the idea of using ChatGPT to just sort of protect like the fact that you're not actually searching something. And in some ways AI can be worse, but like it's not, because it's just that you're actually getting the answer directly. So it's like it's obvious. And so like this idea of like, you know, AI or algorithms manipulating you, it becomes more direct and noticeable with AI. And so at first it might seem worse, but like that integration, like that combination of like artificial intelligence and search, I think is like a huge, you know, potential. And then in my opinion, like decentralization will catch up too, because we'll want to share data with each other instead of corporations. So there's a level to it where we can take more of the, you know, more of the power back into our own hands, as consumers and as people. We can take power away from like the machine, I guess, and bring it back into our hands with decentralized computing. So I think all these tools are going to exist and going to last, but like decentralized computing is something that's needed.
Definitely, you made me think of basically
Yes.
having a conversation with Neo or with AI when you're searching. Essentially, you're having a provable conversation. Whereas when you
Yeah.
search on the web, you type in a couple words, you might get very misleading stuff and have accusations of a lot of things, right?
Yeah, and with AI, it's like, well, then that's sort of the face of the company, right? So like, the company then becomes like, well, the company had a conversation with me, and that's the whole thing, the whole like corporate barrier of like talking to different corporations. It's like their issue is just literally like, well, we don't want to represent ourselves as saying that. So and Microsoft had that problem huge. Well, I don't know, I forget what it was called, but on Twitter, and she just went crazy. Like they taught her to say all kinds of stuff, like sexist stuff, racist stuff, and they taught her all kinds of like nasty stuff to say, and she started just printing that out on Twitter and with Microsoft's little chatbot. So like the issue now is like, well, they took responsibility for the fact that it was saying that with the image with Microsoft as like the image, and so then when we interact with search like it's AI, then it starts to become like a thing of like, well, at what point does the company just directly like steal my product or my idea, and then we can, if there is, I know that like a lot of people have gone to court with like for open source projects being included in like enterprise software, and so like at some point it's like, if they're going to do that anyway and use like artificial intelligence to like mine us for information, then or if we get hurt in the process of searching for something, if there's more of a human interface, it's easier to explain like what went wrong. And so even at the level of just human interaction and like consumer rights and protections and stuff, it's like with AI, at least we have like more of an argument of that interface, like you said.
You guys heard of a recent that combo just reminded me of a recent incident GitHub had with one of their automations. Basically, the founder of GitHub got banned from GitHub due to an automation error somehow.
Really? Wow.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, that kind of like sparked a real big convo. It's like, should we be using AI to automate everything? Blah, 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 like stuff like that. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think like one of the things with like blacklists or ban lists, it's something that needs to be impermanent and like treat it. I think in the future, like another concept in decentralization is making it so that like so there's two different concepts. Decentralization is making it so that it's individual based, and then the ledger systems and the blockchain systems, it's making it so that it's like visible and apparent. Because there's two issues with blocking something. One issue is you get put into your own reality to a degree, because sometimes you don't know if you're blocked, or blocking can cause caching issues, etc.
Mhm.
And then the other side of that is that you have the issue of, I guess I'm saying the same thing, sort of transparency, and the issue
And
of
immutability.
individualism, because it's
Yeah.
like you shouldn't know who, everyone who's blocked because of the caching issues and stuff. You shouldn't know who, how everyone is blocked, and you shouldn't know who hates who or who doesn't like who or who loves who. You shouldn't know those things, from a third person perspective, without the knowledge of like identity. And so there's a pseudo anonymity and the history, and so blockchain really does help with that. And so yeah, that's what I think. Like, obviously block lists aren't ideal, and we shouldn't have to do them. So then the other side, that's like the currency side. So like if you get a message and it costs money to send the message, it's always going to be more legitimate, and, until the money isn't worth something. So yeah.
Makes sense. Anyone here on Lens? If not, don't worry, it's gonna open up soon. They're planning on opening the garden finally, which is lovely.
Farcaster.
No.
Yeah, I was about to say Farcaster. There's Vitalik, our king god, said
Vitalik's on
he's
Lens
very
as well,
bullish
bro.
on
He's just not.
Farcaster, but he also
That's only because. That's only because, right? He's only bullish because.
hey. And he
Farcast
also said
is
he was bullish
Coinbase,
on
man. Just remember
Lens.
that. Just remember that.
But he also said he was bullish on Lens as well. And his main point was that they will be around for 12 months or longer. So
Just remember, Farcast is Coinbase.
super based. They still know
But
to
then
be good
again,
in the
Lens is
US.
Aave, so yeah. Same, but different. I don't know. I just feel like it's easier to get rugged on Farcaster with all the frames.
Mm.
So really,
Yeah, I still haven't even really like delved into the technology behind it. But
JS, bro.
yeah,
A little bit JS. You just make a frame. I need to make a frame, to be fair. And say you made a
can we put some 3D in there? Some 3JS?
maybe, probably. I don't see why not, actually. But yeah, it's cool, man. It's
To the
just,
kitchen I go.
yeah. But yeah, man. I actually have to hibbity hop soon. MML. Wait, hold on. What's Tommy saying?
Massive multi-language.
Oh snap! MML in a frame. Yo, that's not a bad shout, you know. Take care, Jensen. Nice to meet you. But yeah, I actually have to hop as well.
Thank you for
You guys have a
coming.
wonderful
And
week.
send us the
Bogey.
recording too, man.
No
Yeah, I still
worries,
got
no
a
worries.
recording. We're at 2 hours and 45 minutes.
I actually cut the first clip.
Ooh,
At the,
cut the what?
I've got 2 clips. So this current conversation and then Vinay's presentation as well, and different video.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Oh yeah.
Very good one.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna bounce too. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to ask or say before we wrap it up? Or I guess if anybody does want to stay, they can stay.
Just looking forward to meeting everybody at Eat Denver who is going, and looking forward to playing more games with long-term players around here. So long-term
yeah.
games with long-term players. Bah, bah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all for
Have a good one.
coming. Please shill Jose's song mint and please complete this quest. We need many people to complete this quest. And it even pays. I'm gonna pay you 20 seeds to answer a few questions. So that's nice.
It's very nice.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Thank you all again. And please complete the quest and retweet. That would be very much appreciated. And hope to see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Later, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye now.